Hey everybody, John Felt here. This is the Blue Water Outlook Weekly Weather Briefing for the 1st of November. We should be entering late fall, but really I see more signs of early to mid-fall ahead with mild weather over large parts of the nation. Let's get started in today's Weekly Weather Briefing. Well, first off, let's take a look at where the rain fell last week. And the Pacific Northwest is really had a lot of atmospheric rivers. We've been in, I'm going to talk about a Pacific trough, and that's brought a lot of rain and snow to the Pacific Northwest. We also had a very welcome and needed rain over the Ohio River Valley and the Great Lakes. That's good. Now, it's been very dry, so most of that's going to soak into the ground, not make it into the rivers due to runoff. It's going to soak into the soils. Then, as looking for a sign of mid to late fall, take a look at the snow at higher elevations here, the Rockies and the Cascades. We had quite a bit of snow accumulation in those areas. Now we take a look at the temperatures last week. You can see that some spots were a little bit above normal, yellow. Some spots were a little bit below normal, green. Up here in the upper Midwest, that was more significantly above normal. So where was the cold air? Well, the cold air was indicated by the blue here, or the purple, blue being temperatures 30 degrees or colder, and purple being 20 degrees or colder. So the Rockies, especially the higher elevations, look at this, we even had, it looks like that could be in the single digits in a few spots. So some signs of winter in those areas. Now, what about our rivers? Well, I don't see any significant flooding. I do see the threat for some additional flooding. There's a flood watch out in Seattle. So with that atmospheric river and that moisture flowing in from the Pacific, that's the area that we need to watch for flooding. And then we do have some bumps here. Here's Memphis, so in some improvement. I put out a post on that on Thursday, but overall it looks like we're going to be at a fairly low flow in that area unless we get repeated and significant rain. So the big picture here shows a Pacific trough, that's purple here, for the next week. And if we look at the upper air, here is that trough, and that's what's bringing the atmospheric moisture onshore to the Pacific Northwest. Then we have a ridge of high pressure here, another dip in here. So a very wavy jet stream. Now by the middle of the week, we begin to come more dominated by this ridge of high pressure over the central U.S. So that's going to expand the mild weather. And then by next weekend at this time, we'll be watching this. This could be our next weather producer. Okay, so let's talk about temperatures, and then we'll talk about rain and snow. So here are temperatures. If you look at the first 5 days to the second 5 days and the third 5 days, you can see the expanding areas of above normal temperatures sort of peak here mid to late week, maybe into the weekend, and then maybe pull back a little bit. But overall, you can see that we lose the below normal temperatures in most areas, and we really expand the above normal temperatures. And that goes through the middle of November. Now, what about rain and snow? Well, here's our rain. Not a whole lot. The areas that we want to keep an eye on is the Pacific Northwest and the coastal western U.S., coastal Washington, Oregon, and California, Northern California. Enhanced rain and then snow at higher elevations. And then a repeated rain. This is the second week where we could get an Ohio River Valley, Great Lakes rain. And the good thing about that is that'll result in probably a little bit more runoff than we saw the first time around. So that's what we need. We need these every week to start to break that drought down. Where's the snow? Well, right now it looks like the snow will be at the higher elevations here of the Cascades and the Rockies of the West. Let's take a look a little bit further out. Weeks 2, well, we still have a lot of mild air over the western and central U.S., and we have a pretty big area of dry weather over the central U.S., and the Pacific Northwest remains on the wet side. So overall, expanding mild weather this week, and Pacific Northwest, heavy rain. Other than that, looks pretty quiet. Have a great week. first week in November. Take care.